we're going to be laying out the nobler wing as I promised you. And what I'm doing here is I'm taking some of Tom Morris template material and cutting along the rib line, and we're going to make some patterns to sandwich between two pieces of plywood, and I'll show you that here shortly. So let's see here. Cut carefully along the line and get, you want to make a nice rib pattern. You don't want a bunch of waves and things like that. So be careful in your cuts. And this video will last about 25 minutes. It just goes into the rib layout and how to get ready for the stack sanding procedure. So tear it out of the pattern, and we'll just sit back for a minute and watch this video together. So trace along your rib pattern onto 16th inch plywood, what I'm doing here, and we're going to cut them out using a couple of different ways. And you would think that I would cut along the line, but I don't. So I'll show you that here in a second. Accurate rib patterns are of the utmost importance. You don't want to have one side different than the other. So what I normally do is I take the pattern and turn it over, and so I'm drawing the top and the bottom. And here I'm just basically rough cutting these rib sets out. Just try to get it close, because what I normally do is I sand to the line. I don't try to cut on the line because you never can get it perfect. So I use the table saw to basically route out some of the the big chunks. You don't want to be sanding a whole lot, so I just cut it close. Be very careful with these tools. They are very sharp. It would that little saw there would take your finger right off. And this video is basically in real time. I did cut out a few of the dead air time. We have about a 26-minute video here, and I cut out probably 10 minutes, so 30 minutes to make a rib set like this. Here I'm getting ready to sand the shape. Sand just up to the line. Don't sand past the line. You want to leave the line on, as Wendy says, because at the end I take a sanding block and bring it down perfect. For the guys who don't have a disc sander, I used to do this all by hand, so it can be done. So you don't need these tools. They just aid in making things faster. Remember, I always say the finish starts with the first piece of wood cut. And you want to make these parts as accurate as possible. You don't want to have any whoops or waves, and that's the reason why I'm building a second wing, is because I had a brain freeze or whatever, and I got whoops and waves in the first wing, and that's all right. It was a D-tube wing, the original Nobler, and I'm building this in the C-tube configuration so that I can glue the inside of the sheeting, and that's what caused the problem on the last wing. And I hadn't built a D-tube in so long I had forgot about pinching the sheeting down, and it sometimes causes a big warp or whoop in the wing. And I weighted it, and I got it out, and it's usable, but there's still some problems, so I decided that it'd be best not to use that. I've also decided here not to use a triangular leading edge. I've decided to use a flat leading edge of 3/8 instead of the quarter square. Next, I'm drawing a center line on the ribs. And this is big. I'm not going to draw a center line on each individual rib, however you could. But the way that I do the jig drilling using an arrow shaft that's the same size as the jig rod itself, it basically holds it in alignment. So I'm not too worried about that. But I do want to put the center lines on the ribs so that I'm sure that it's jigged up square. I'm also drawing the notch marks for the top and bottom spars, 1/4 inch spars. Basically, I'm just using the exact location of where the D-tube spar was as the reference point for the back of the 1/4 inch square spar. Another thing about this wing, the original kit Nobler had 3/32 trailing edge sheeting, and it was notched. The ribs were notched so that a 1/16 inch cap strip could go up there, and it had double 1/16 inch sheeting in the center section. Well, I've changed up that method, and this is all going to be, the whole wing is going to be 3/32, so you needed to make the rib set accommodate for that. Now I'm notching out the notches in the templates only. I do not cut the notches in the ribs at this time. I just use these notch marks as a way to mark the rib so that I can later take a 1/4 inch square piece of wood with sandpaper, 80 grit sandpaper on it, and sand the notches into the ribs. So this is basically a marking system only. Good for the scale. So the next step is to grade, weigh, and sort your wood. And the reason that I'm doing this is that I take and I use the heavier wood on the outboard side and the lighter wood on the inboard side. I try to use wood that the grain is running straight down the rib. You don't want the grain running off at an angle on a rib. You're only setting yourself up for a warp that way. See how wavy that piece of wood was? That wouldn't be good for sheeting, but it'll be fine for a rib, because once you cut the rib out of it, it will relieve itself and go back to a straight piece. Somebody had mentioned that they wanted me to do a wood selection video. It would be very hard to do a wood selection video, and probably the best wood grader would be Bob Hunt. So if you have any wood grading questions, that'd be the guy to ask. After grading the wood, I separate, as I told you, the lightest wood from the heavier wood, and I mark it for inboard or outboard. Now these pieces are 4 to 6 pound. Trying to build this Nobler under 40 ounces. Somebody had asked me, they wanted to build along their kit with my project. Well, that's all well and good. I next take the root rib, and we're going to lay out the blanks. And you want to use the root rib because obviously the root rib is larger than the tip rib, and you're going to be stack sanding these, so you need all the ribs the original size. This process only takes, I mean, if I wasn't making a video, I can make a set of ribs just like this in just a few minutes. So it's not a big deal. A lot of people are, you know, worry about how hard it is, and these are accurate. And so once this video has run its course, I'm going to basically stop the video and try to reset, and we're going to build half the wing. Unfortunately, the rod method doesn't allow you to build both halves, or I don't have rods long enough to build both halves together, so I have to build half at a time. And the original way that the Nobler was done, it really didn't allow for that. So I allowed for this so that I could have two center ribs that I could glue together, just like when you do Boss foam. So that helps quite a bit. So we're going to build one half, and then I'll clean up and I'll do the other half. I might do that other half in a live stream video. And a lot of guys don't like the live stream video because there's a lot of dead air time. And you know, that's just the way it goes. These videos take a lot of time to make, and it almost doubles the construction time of an airplane, because it's build, video, edit, and the editing process takes just as long to do as as building the airplane. Try to lay it out that you get the most out of your lumber with least amount of waste. Cut all these pieces out. We're going to stack them together, drill the jig slots, the jig holes, which I don't show in this particular video. And remember, make sure you like, subscribe, and share my videos. And until I see you again, fair winds, tight lines. Oh, stay tuned for the live broadcast tonight at 9 o'clock, Monday night. And if you want to join that, I usually post the link at the bench part of the forum, although recently I have started to post the link in the video chat area. So if you scroll down, you'll find the link where to join the live stream. So see you again. Fair winds, tight lines. See ya.